Hello and welcome back to the channel, and we're going to give another one of these stadium courses a play, and this one is Club Cambell by boogypro. Again, not a name I know, therefore I'm going to assume a newer designer, but we'll wait and see. Just tends to be the case with people I don't yet really recognise. All right, another one of these with the same plot dimensions. Just fly up and have a quick check. Yeah, there's immediately some things I can see which makes me think of a new designer, mostly around the bunkering. Where have we gone? Okay, so the elbow bit's down there. Very low lighting, which is probably going to cause us some issues. You can see how far the trees go as shadows. It would look great for a couple of holes, and then it would be really challenging for some other direction. Looks cool though. There's a lot of effort that's gone in. You can see the rock work. Go and zoom down and have a look. And we've got some dead trees and looks like some retaining walls and things as well. So we've tried some stuff, which is good. And let's have a look. Oh, nice. Yeah, so some of the retaining wall, like, unfortunately, this is a thing with the game where you can't get that steeper slope. So this is unfortunately always doomed to looking like that. Rockwork looks cool. Retaining walls are something where I think just kind of would, unless you're really, really advanced, I would generally steer away from them. They're really hard to do well. I suspect we're going to have some sightline issues on this one. Yeah, looks nice. Like, you've put in some really good time to kind of curving it all as well. Unfortunately, it's one of those where you have no way to deal with this unsightly part. So, like, you either need to do 3 layers, which is just tedious as hell, or you put a bridge or a bench or something. So we can see the shadowy issues coming into play with the low lighting as well. Okay, I like the vibe you've gone for though. Oh, we've staked out a hazard area, which is nice. And again, the remove heavy rough, when people have got this working, looks really good. I love the way when you can control it, boreal going in that green sort of colours. When you spin around this way, glary, I don't like it. I just wish that glare were better. Anyway, we've got some interesting stuff. It looks like you've taken some chances, which I like. Let's fly back over to where I think we are. We've got our crowds and surrounding area. Nice little clubhouse. Some giant ferns. This is really well done. It looks lovely. I'm rubbish at doing this, so I appreciate people well. And a random sphere. Uh, it's a way of using the objects for sure. Righty, leap on to the first tee. And we're starting out directly into the glare, which a couple of games ago this view looked beautiful. Now it doesn't. The bunkers. So technically fine, I think. Just you will learn to do all of this. The sculpting and shaping and placement, they're kind of like right through the middle of the fairway, which makes it tricky. We then have this green that rolls away. There's no kind of easy way to play this, which kind of means you're just forced into hitting driver and hoping. Bunker looks very deep as well. I mean, it's a way of doing difficulty for sure. Let's see if we can get fully lofted. Yeah. We're going to be in the front bunker, but that's about as good as I could have hoped for. The lighting is hurting you more than it's helping. Just look at how much all the grasses and everything's in shadow. It would just be nice to be able to see it. With your bunkers, I would always try and, as you can see, it's kind of completely invisible. You need to dip down the front of it so that it's a bit more like a low front part and then rises up. So we'll take our par. Yeah, as mentioned, if I think you're a new designer, I'll try and generally give you as much as I possibly can do. This is a nice, simple little par three. So I wonder whether we're trying to get the ball to run into the bunker. If so, you're going to need to spline the bunker, otherwise that won't work. And if not, unfortunately, the way the game works, this is always just going to stop in the heavy rough, which isn't. The bunkers feel, I would say, overly big compared to the green. That's true on the last hole as well. That said, presents nicely. Yeah, be okay. You've done all right. Oh, didn't hold its line. 154. Okay. Which I think is bang on. Maybe it's not. Is it 145? I forget what the default speeds are. Shows how much I've been out of the loop with this game recently. I think there's some sculpting stuff you can do. You will just learn to do neater. Like this whole hillside, I think you would want a more gradual slope to the fairway rather than just the fairway gathers the balls in a little bit more. I like that we've got a choice where we can just bomb driver, which I think is probably the play here. Yeah. And now we get all of that backstop. So like again here, I think what you've got is basically a barricade. I feel like this is sculpted this way for the bunkers. Like if you're putting bunkers here, generally probably wouldn't try to slope the green away from them that hard. But if you did, it would be more of that gradual slope again. I think through the first few holes, just generally working on gradual sloping would help you, rather than just these big moves and then flat. It kind of just, it's not really how those slopes in real life work, and it will feel better when everything is more rather than just extremes. Yeah, the darkness is really hurting us here. We've got a funky green with some water in front of it. There's a lot going on here. Have out of bounds this way and bunkers here. The bunkers, I think you'd get more playability if you made them half the size and then you had fairway out here. Because then at least people could try and miss play down the right hand side and it would be a bit more strategic rather than I don't really feel the whole of the right half of the fairway is usable. Like you may as well just have these off the side of the fairway. Nobody's playing down here. Okie doke. I like where you put the crowds. Everything. This works. I need to come in just a little. And get a kick down. Tried. Hey. Yay, sunlight. I think just generally I would say, hey Groovy. I would just generally say you need to allow a few more options, and partly that will come from giving yourself a few slightly wider corridors, wider fairway. But it's basically you hit fairway or nothing at the moment through most of the holes, and the bunkers take up an awful lot of space within the fairway and gives it this kind of minefield impression where you're just dodging down there. And I think you will learn to do that better. Here, for example, you've got an awful lot of features. You've got out of bounds down the left. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, or 3 bunkers that are potentially in play. Then we've got water down here. We've got water here as well. Like, I think if you just simplified this, you'd find it gets a lot easier. And particularly given that we used OB on the last hole, I'm not sure I'd use it much on this one. And drop the blind down because I'm struggling to see with the light. Okay. Yeah, and then we got this teeny tiny green, which I don't mind on its own. This bunker is causing you issues because you're trying to get the sight line. I think generally if it's a back bunker, I don't worry about it being visible. Unless the hole is benched into a hill, which this one isn't. I'd have just let this one be blind. But to be honest, you could have done like just tucking your green over here next to the out of bounds could have been, well, arguably would have been more dangerous. And I think, yeah, as mentioned, just thin out a few of the bunkers. You'll find it gets more playable and people take on shots more. That said, we're just going to bunt something over. Yeah, I like the simplicity of it. Like the triangular nature and like the fact that you haven't done much in the way of sloping, it's cool. And yes, if Gravy says anything about your course, it's generally spot on. The guy knows what he's talking about. Okay, we've gone double green. We've gone from what felt very narrow and closed in to now really open. I definitely prefer this vibe. I think bunkering is going to be a just keep working on shaping and sculpting. I like this pin though. Front pin makes us take on those two bunkers. I'm just going to play down this side. Hopefully that slope brings it back. No, not a huge amount. I like this one. It's a good, like, it is a good stadium hole in a different sort of context. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because this one just has that front little pocket, and that's about it. I don't think these greens needed to be joined. Personally, I think it would have looked better if you didn't, but that's less of an issue. It's okay, we made our part. I do like the planting on that little water feature as well. Yeah, same thing with smoothing these, but yeah. We're just going to pop drive down here. Hey, chicken. Ooh, quite the feature. I think if you dropped, and this is the contest where I'm just saying over and over again, I think if you drop this whole green site by like 4 feet, you'd have a much better look. It just feels a bit too raised. Come back. No, there's a slope there. Use it a little bit more. No, it's just going to sit. But I like that that feature is used and it's kind of wrapping around. It's cool. Definitely a hole you'll remember. Hey, we're finding some birdies at least. This is cool. I like that it feels like we're hitting through a valley. More right, interesting land movement. Oh, we play back to this one. So here's another thing about the ridges that you've built in as well. I feel like I could have missed this fairway right pretty easily and bounced into the fairway because it's so raised up. Kind of why you saw me aim down that way. On the screen. I like that the land movement is feeling a bit more in play on this one. Or like part of the hole. Oh, that might need to sit. There we go. We made it 5. Yeah, and then you turn back into the. Yes, agree. Again, a cool green. Like, we've done some interesting things with the green shape, and I think you could have tucked this bunker even tighter in here, and you will get better at doing that with practice. Yeah, I've pushed it straight in. Away with it. I think one of my major things through the front nine that I would say for future courses is try to have fewer bunkers but have them matter more. As Adam says, like varying your bunker sizes and shapes, I think would make a big difference. Because a lot of the holes at the moment, it's just like I just need to avoid the bunkers, and like if I do, there's not much more to the hole. Whereas if you put them in really strategically important places and had fewer of them, and gave me routes, basically encouraged me to play close to them, I think it would be better. Mm, yeah, still 5 under's not too bad. Okay, and yeah, the light has got to be okay. So we've gone for some heavy rough dips. These kind of feel a bit out of place because you've done bunkers everywhere else, and it just feels like we should be having bunkers here anyway. Um, I will say on a 220-yard hole, I would not do runoff everywhere. It just makes it very one-dimensional. Because you either hit this tier, stay on, or you don't, and there's nothing between the two. Also, for this length of shot, that's asking a pretty precise question. I'm not saying like never do it. It's just there's a reason we don't typically see that, particularly with the domed greens, because you get this kind of effect, and it's just not typically that much fun. Okay. We have a blind tee shot that I don't think is supposed to be blind. I would also try to avoid cutting cart path through the middle of a fairway if you can do. Scenery. I think we might reach those bunkers. It's fine if we do. Oh, okay. Got very lucky. So this one's an interesting hole because I don't necessarily see why any of the bunkers are where they are. They don't really. This would be a good one for you to take and remodel. Just like, how could you make it so I get an incentive for hitting anywhere other than the middle of the fairway? Because I'm just gonna hit that tee shot all day long. There's no risk of hitting driver. I mean, hitting past that little swale is a bit tricky. Like that was the most interesting part of this whole hole is this little feature right here. So swale and then rolling away the other side. Like actually, I really like the green, but try and think of where you could put those bunkers to encourage people to play to different spots and like, really influence play. I've missed the part. Yeah, agreed. Like the greens have been the best part. I think apart from 10, I didn't like. Other than that, so yeah, here again, just as long as I'm not in the bunkers, everything is fine. I would say. We have cart path cutting across again, which I really recommend not doing. Oh, I didn't get it. Okay, though. I think this green is interesting. It's just a bit too big, probably for a par 5 that you have. That's not a good. Hmm. When there's a lot of contour on it, but even then, like you can, yeah, when there's lots of contour is basically the answer. We, I feel like we have overdone the kind of null green with everything falling off a bit. Although at least here the bunkers are in play and like influencing my decision. So I'm going to lay up for the first time because I feel like it's the more prudent call. And it hopefully means I have a full wedge into the green. This is better. Never full wedge. Keep forgetting I've got. This looks nice. I think this bunker again you will learn to do better. But I like the idea. Yeah, it could do. It depends. So that's the other one. If you're trying to, yes, I know what Gravy says, but also I think if you're trying to really encourage people to go for it, say like there's a creek in front, so like the 13th Augusta, for example, you're trying to say, well, if you get home, you've got a really good look at eagle, but you have to take on the biggest challenge. It's an interesting green as well. Again, like, I think you would refine, make this bunker smaller, make the angles a little bit less extreme, but the idea is good. And I like what you've done with the crowds and where we're at in relation to the clubhouse too. Seeing our dome again. That's a better part. Hey, 15. Yeah, again, like we are getting there with tee shots. This is more interesting because I have to think about my line and my length, where I'm going to run out of fairway, how the wind is impacting. I wish we'd have more like this a little earlier on. Because as you can see, I had to hit a different type of shot. And then we've got this big carry to a shallow green. This is, I would say, strategically the best hole so far. I think you will still learn to do it a little bit neater, but it's good. Right, now I have to actually think. I think this could be the club. A little slow. Okay. Yeah. No, exactly. Oh, I've got a horrible putt. No idea. Yeah, that will do. Oh, knew I hit that too hard. Ah, rubbish, rubbish bogey. Yeah. So this is a good thing to check for sight lines. So this is the view you want us to see with the water, etc. Problem is that the whole tee box is too high. Like you hold in L2, you generally see what you want to see, whereas this is what you're actually seeing. Just double check this because if you flip between those two and you're like, oh yeah, I'm not seeing something I want to, then you sculpt the tee box or the landing zone a little bit differently. I like this par 3 a lot. But again, I would rather it were all a bit lower. I think if we dropped everything 5 feet, make a big difference. And that's the most exacting shot I'd say so far. They did. Yes, and yes, that's also true. However, for the purposes of in-game design, we want to make that. Hey, Rhino. One stupid bogey aside, played pretty well. Okay. Cart path kind of comes into play here, I would say, on the landing zone. And that's why, yeah, I just wouldn't ever do this. Okay. I think we should get a little bit of a kick off this slope. There we go. The little ticket office overlooking everything. Probably not quite enough danger for this pin to stop me going for it, but for others, I could see why I wouldn't go for it. Yeah. Another dreadful putt. And 18. Again, interesting green. Like, I like that we've gone wider and you've got some feeder slopes and things like that part you're really thinking about. The rest of the hole is still just kind of avoid the bunkers. Which we have done. Test out that feeder slope. Kind of hit a partial and got nowhere near it. Now feed. Options. Well, that worked pretty nicely. See, it was all intentional. But that's why that green works quite well, because you've given us ways to get that pin. I could have just tried to hit a lob wedge and stick it. There we are. Alrighty. I really enjoyed that. I think, like I say, I think there's some stuff that hopefully in there that you'll pick up on. Like, there's a lot I liked as well, and so do take that away of like where you're doing really cool green work and things like that. Variety of holes I thought was good. I thought you balanced everything quite nicely. It felt varied. Things to like you will know the things that you were working on throughout that, and hopefully this just kind of reinforces that those are the right things and that's where to go with them. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and definitely felt varied and interesting. I like the shorter fours as well. And there's some really cool green complexes in there. Right, we're going to be back in just a minute and we'll play another one. And then we will play rhinos.